Welcome everyone to this very brief introduction to the Windows 10 command line. Before we can compile and run programs on the command line, we need to have a working understanding of a couple of commands. We tend to spend much of our time working with windows and folders and various graphical components, so these commands might take a bit of practice before you feel comfortable and efficient with them. Luckily, there are only a couple that we need to concern ourselves with. We're going to do a quick run through of the CD and dir commands, and I'll show you how to change drives if you want to work on a USB drive. To begin, let's open a command prompt window. To do this, type CMD in the search bar and click the command prompt app label. If you're going to use the command prompt often, as my students do when they're learning to program, you might want to right-click on the command prompt icon on the taskbar and click Pin to Taskbar. This way, the app will always be nearby. I'm going to open a File Explorer window to help illustrate a couple of points as we go through these commands. It's not necessary for you to do so, but if you do, don't be surprised if your File Explorer looks a bit different compared to mine. In your command prompt window, you'll notice a bit of text. The couple of lines at the top are not terribly interesting, but the last line is known as your prompt. It tells you what drive you're on, C in my case, and probably in your case too, and it tells you what directory you are in as well. In my case, I'm in Users and then Aaron. With a couple of clicks, I can go to the same location in the File Explorer window. Notice that the folder list in the address bar roughly matches the prompt on the command line. It's worth mentioning that we tend to call these locations folders when we are working in a graphical window and directories when we are working on the command line, but they're pretty interchangeable. The directory that you start in when you open a command prompt is known as your home directory, and if you don't make any changes, that's where you'll always start. If we're going to change to another directory, maybe to find our files or to compile our source code, we need to see where we're going. You can see in my File Explorer window that I have some folders or directories, including my desktop and a whole bunch of other nonsense. Since you won't always have a File Explorer window open, you can get a listing of your directories and files using our first command line command dir. Type dir and hit enter. There's a lot to see, but it does match what's in the File Explorer window, even if we have to scroll a bit to see it all. Our second command allows us to move to another directory. Let's move to our desktop using the cd command. Unlike dir, cd requires what's called an argument. In this case, we're simply going to type cd desktop and hit enter. This moves us to our desktop folder. I'll do the same thing in my File Explorer window to illustrate the movement. If I run the dir command again, you can see that I have one folder on my desktop called COSC 1046. That's the course code of my first year programming class. Let's change directories to that one by typing cd COSC 1046 and hitting enter. Remember, you probably don't have these specific directories, but the steps are otherwise the same. Let's repeat these steps one more time for practice. If I use dir, I can see that there is a directory called A1 or assignment 1 for my students, and we can change into that directory. If we run dir one last time, we can see that there is a Java source file called helloworld.java. While compiling and running a Java program is covered in a separate video, I'll run the commands here just to complete the example. If you want to back up a directory at any point, you can use two periods, as in cd period period. This will move you up one level in the directory or folder structure. I'll do it here and show the result in the File Explorer window. If I repeat that process 2 more times, then we're back where we started. I'll close my File Explorer window and repeat the steps that we did to get to the A1 directory. There may be some cases where you want to work on a drive other than your C drive. Maybe you want to work on a USB drive, for example. To change drives, you need to enter the drive letter followed by a colon. The easiest way to determine your drive letter is to check File Explorer. Here we can see that my USB drive has been assigned the letter D, so in my command window I can type D:, and change to that drive. I'm going to repeat the steps we did previously, but this time I'll be on my D drive. If you find that you are having trouble changing directories because the name includes a space or some other unusual character, try putting it in quotations. Other than that, the steps are the same. Through a combination of dir and cd, I can get to my files. To get back to your C drive at any time, simply type C:. Whenever you're done, you can close your command prompt. If you've pinned it to the taskbar, it'll be right there for you when you need it next. Just as a quick reminder, other than to determine the drive letter of my USB drive, I use the File Explorer window in this video only as an illustration. With a bit of practice on the command line, it's really not necessary to have it open at all. If you've made it this far, maybe you're curious as to why I teach my Intro to Programming students to code on the command line rather than throwing them right into an integrated development environment or IDE, such as Eclipse or NetBeans. Advanced coding tools such as these are more sophisticated and offer efficiencies, improved workflow, and various other perks over a simple text editor and a command prompt. However, there are a couple of drawbacks. The interface can be somewhat complicated, but more importantly, they often hide the key processes of compiling and running a program in the background. By coding on the command line, you must manually complete both of these steps, and this offers a different, perhaps deeper understanding of those processes and an appreciation of what integrated development environments have to offer you later on in your coding career or hobby.